All right. I am going to give you guys my first thoughts and then we'll dig into them. So, I'll be completely honest. When I was reading the first, actually, let me just say, before I started reading this, I was on TikTok and saw someone talk about this novel. Two posts, actually. One person said they DNF'd it after 50 pages or something like that. They said they really didn't like it because they just felt like they didn't care about the characters enough. And then it was like this guy was like, "Oh, I was awful to my wife. Now I'm going to be better to my wife." But there was just like nothing. And she was just like, "Okay, like, why do I care?" And I was like, "Interesting perspective." And it's not that I didn't respect the perspective, but it was that this person compared it to Arha. And they were like, this is the same thing with the husky and his white cat Shih Tzuan. And that's why I just DNF'd it because I don't know these characters yet. Like, I don't care that you suddenly want to be good to, your wife or whatever. And I was like, huh? First off, I mean, people are allowed to not like what they don't like, but Morjan did not immediately go back to his old self and suddenly want to be good to Chuaning. That was a whole process, okay? And we had to see his transformation. So okay, I kind of just threw their review out the window then after saying that, because after reading the first 6 chapters, this is nowhere near the same. Like, don't get me wrong, Morjan did go back and decide that he wanted to be good to everyone else except for Chuaning. But I think that's pretty basic, wanting to because of how his life ended. It's like, yeah, okay, I'm getting a second chance. Let me just be better in general. But then he still has these complex feelings for Chuaning. So I was just like, it's really not the same at all. And then I saw another post of someone speaking on something that they did not like at the end of chapter 1 and kind of explained in chapter 2, which we are going to talk about. So, you said the MC also spends time in prison. The ML and actually got to know him there before going back. So now that I've saw those two things and I was like, I don't know. Um, Time to talk about how I feel. Ultimately, I'm gonna say I don't dislike it, but I'm not 100% sold yet. Yeah, that's pretty much where I am. And we're going to go ahead and start with my notes on chapter 1. So, of course, we have the main character whose name is Jing Shao, which I'm just saying it for you guys in case you want to know how the names are said. And I get it. He's the son of the late empress, but she was what, like a concubine or something? He's been a soldier since he was like freaking 14 years old, which is crazy. But we know that happens a lot in these ancient Chinese novels where people are already militarified at like such an early age. And I'm like, huh? What? So yeah, then he was conferred to imperial prince. You said, please, I suck at pronunciation. Yes, Jing Shao. That one's actually very easy. Jing Shao. And yeah, growing up in the army essentially. And so, yes, he was conferred to the imperial prince. And on page 10, when it was like, he ended up in prison and he was in prison with the wife that he'd resented for 10 years, my note, it was like, why? Like, why have you resented? And I was glad because right after that, we got the explanation. And it's not to say that I don't like it when stories like withhold information for a while, but I was very grateful that the author was just like, okay, let's just go ahead and tell you why. Let's not keep you guessing. And so we have this man who he basically he was forced to marry this man and to keep peace in a clan or whatever. And marrying a man automatically stripped away his right to the throne. So I get that. Totally understandable. I'd be upset too if I wanted the throne And then suddenly I didn't even have the right to do that anymore. And it's all because of stinking Empress who's clearly, fighting against me. So I get it. By the way, the wife's name, just going to put here, is Mu Han Zhang. So you said scapegoat. The current empress was a concubine. Okay, thank you. His mom was the imperial consort. I like the fact that it's actually unwritten rule. And so, anyway, we have all this. Muhan Zhang was, he wanted to be a scholar. And he was forced into this as well. So it just kind of seemed like an all around unhappy thing. Everybody was forced into it, which really, really sucked. And I was reading, I'm like, okay, cool, cool, cool. But then, they die together or whatever. And at first, the guy's like, just leave me behind. The wife, Muhan Zhang's like, just leave me behind because I'm about to die anyway. And he's like, no, we're going to go together. And he's like, what in the world are you talking about? But in this time, the main character has realized that everybody has left him except for this man. And he realized when it's too late, like, oh, I treated him badly. So at least in the end, I'll try to treat him, well, I guess. They ended up dying together, or rather, Muhan Zhang ended up dying. And then seeing there was no escape, Jing Shao was just like, and jumped them off of a cliff together, which is, I totally feel it. I would have done the same thing. I would rather jump off a cliff and die than to get stabbed a lot by soldiers. Not to mention, he already got riddled with arrows. So, I mean, just like, I don't want to experience even more pain. But one thing that I did like before the death was that Jing Shao had asked Mu Hanjiang if he resented him. And Mu Hanjiang was like, of course. I resented you. Like, this is the life that I wanted to live. I wanted to be a scholar. I wanted to take the imperial exam and live my life, but I was forced to be with you. But then he also said, but it's not your fault. Like, this was something that was forced upon the both of us. And I realized that you can't inherit the throne. So right then and there, I see that the male lead is an honest person, but also an understanding person. So those were two kudos for Muhan Jong right away for me. Then when we get to the, hold on. Oh, yeah. Then when we get to the end of chapter 1, he's basically mentioning how he also scorned his elder brother, but his elder brother was the only one other than Muhan Jong who was willing to go to bat for him as well. And so those are two relationships, I guess, that he wants to fix as we continue going on. And then he jumps off the cliff and everything. It ends. And when he wakes up, he is at his wedding night with Muhan Jong. And this is where I started to see several complaints from people on TikTok. So in chapter 2, then we have him first off, like, wait, I'm not dead. I'm alive, which is like, wow, cool. Okay. And he's already realizing what day and time he's in after he, picks up some files and see the last thing he put in it. And he's like, okay, I'm actually on my wedding night. All right, sure, fine. And so as I kept reading, because I'm like, okay, so what's the problem? Because when I finished reading chapter 1 and how it read, it's just said, let me see. Okay, yeah, he realized the man that was lying beside him. Man's crimson robes were torn to shreds, disheveled hair spread over his exposed chest and skin, and he had bruises everywhere. And so I was like, okay, I'm already understanding where this is going. The reason why a lot of people were mad is because they didn't understand the logic or the reason why Lv Ye Qian He put in rape. Also, I'm wondering if it's really LV or if it's Lu, because when you're typing the Roman characters for Chinese characters to come up, you would click, I think you can click V to represent you, but with the umlauts on top. So Lu rather than Lu. So I'm like, is it Lv Ye Qian He or Ye Qian He? And if so, why didn't they just put the U with the umlauts on top? Anyway, that was a random segue. But so they, a lot of people were complaining because it was like, what was the purpose of putting the rape into this novel? And it's basically kind of setting the tone for everything, because it's like different. Again, I hate to compare it to Arha, and I'm not going to say anything too much because I don't want to spoil it for those who haven't read it. But it's kind of like the sexual assault that happened in Arha, it wasn't there just for shits and giggles. Like there was a reason behind it, not justifying it or anything like that, but there was a reason behind it. And it just went to show you like the psychology of and the metamorphosis of Morjan. Whereas in here, it was just like, oh yeah, let's just throw it in there that he raped his husband on their wedding night. And so I'll be completely honest. Also, hold on. Sorry, I just wanted to read that. So, anyway, I'm gonna be completely honest. I also did not like that. You said it lets you know how bad their relationship was before. So, I mean, I don't necessarily think it shows how bad their relationship was because this was literally the wedding night. There ultimately was no relationship at this point. Like they just got married, and the guy was drunk and then decides to sexually assault his spouse. And don't get me wrong, like I get it. He's upset that he has to marry this man. And so instead of, I guess, going to sleep with one of the concubines, he decides to rape the man. I I just don't like it. In all honesty. And for me, I'm going to keep talking about some things. It kind of sets this tone that I really don't appreciate just because it's Mm, I get not wanting to be with someone, but I don't know. Just like in my mind, if I were a man and I had to get married to someone that I didn't want to be with, my first thought, even in drunkenness, wouldn't be to rape them, So I'm just like, man, this is really awful. So, nevertheless, I did not like that, and it sets the tone, yeah, how it started, and it just didn't sit well with me. But I'm like, I'm gonna keep reading because some things may not be figured out till later, or maybe I don't know. So then we have him waking up. Muhan Jang finally is awake as well, and it says that he's filled with like this fear and like, oh my gosh, like you're here, what are you going to do to me, kind of thing. And this is also one of the reasons why I was kind of upset while reading this, and I'm just going to explain that. But we have here at the bottom of page 22 where of course he's like, I was drunk, I really didn't mean to do that. And then he was like, and when Muhan Jang was like, I'll go wash myself up, and he says, where will you get the strength to do that? Ultimately, this is my fault, so just consider it my apology to you. Meanwhile, um, I'm trying to, did I highlight that section? No, I didn't highlight it just yet. And so this was one thing that I was very upset about, which again, I understand that we have a character who apparently was horrible, but you don't see it as rape because it was expected. I saw it as someone going too far on something they knew would happen that night. Hi, NFS Wonders In. Because of the way that Muhan Jang responded to him the morning after, I considered it as rape because it said that he had fear when he saw him and stiffened immediately when he touched him. And so at some point, even if it was like, okay, we're just going to have sex with each other because that's what's expected, at some point, when things go too far in sex, if a person is unhappy, then it morphs into rape. That is just how I feel because it doesn't matter at any point. You can be in the middle of sex, and if someone is like, "This is painful," if which we don't know how he was during the act because that wasn't elaborated on, thank God. But if at any point one person becomes unhappy or non-consenting, I'll say, and things go too far, I'm putting it in that realm. Also, just because it's expected doesn't necessarily mean that it's not rape, which is kind of those things where it's a slippery slope and it's hard because, it's like, oh, where it's two people, they're married. So, and it's sometimes hard to claim something as rape when it's with your spouse. But at the same time, no means no. Not saying he said no. Again, we don't have these details. But the reason why I'm sticking to the fact that it was rape, or at some point it metamorphosed into that, is because it said that Muhan Jang looked at him with fear. And every time that he touched him, it was, he would tense up. So that's a red flag for me, not to mention all of the blood that was seen there, it looked pretty bad. And, or rather, it says his rear was in such distress that Jing Shao himself could scarcely look, and so it's like, so you hurt him bad, and drunk or not, you can see what's happening. If there's blood, you're going at it pretty rigorously, and that's pretty awful. So you said hurting someone is hurting someone despite the context. So glad we haven't seen it. Yeah, I was really glad it wasn't like I was so glad that they came to the morning after rather than the morning, I mean the night of, and how it I would not have read that. Like I just, well, I would have read it, but I would not have liked to have read that. And so continuing again, where I was really leaving off before I saw that comment, when he says, yeah, ultimately, this is my fault. So just consider it my apology to you. Yes, but also within context of the first life, he wanted to hurt him too. Exactly. That is true. He did say at some point that he was bitter and had resentment and everything. So I really want to get to this point. This is my fault, so just consider it my apology. I'm not gonna lie. I read that and got very upset. And my sticky note here says, sir, that's not how that works. I'm sorry. It's my fault that you're bleeding everywhere and you're in pain because I sexually assaulted you. Um, so I'm gonna wash you up. Just consider that my apology. That's how I read that. That is how I read that. You said, well, if he came back before, it wouldn't have happened. Yes, it wouldn't have happened, but it did. So he's a little dumb in these things. Yeah, he's very dumb, and it was actually quite upsetting, which, don't get me wrong, I understand his dumbness, but after having assaulted somebody and just saying, I'm gonna wash you up and it's my fault, so this is my, just take this as my apology, is very awful, which I understand the times and all of this, so like, I'm taking it all into consideration. That doesn't mean I can't get mad about it, right? And so I'm like, yeah, if someone were to rape me and then be like, yeah, I'll wash you up and just take this as my apology, no, absolutely not. That's not how it works. And then even in moments where Muhan Jang is clearly like upset or has a look on his face, good night, Utma Utma. I'm sorry it's late. You said, hey Utma, you night zombieing. It's like where was I? Yeah. So there was even one point, I'm trying to find, I should have just highlighted it, but Muhan Jang was clearly upset, basically. But there were still moments where Jing Shao would smile a little bit, and then he would like try to fix his face. And I'm like, this is not a smiling moment, sir. Like you have to understand the trauma that you put your husband, your wife through. So anyway, eventually Muhan Jang stops resisting, lets him wash him up. And then even at some point when Muhan Jang is like, let me clean myself out, like his insides, have a good night. Then even Jing Shao is like, well, let me do it. I'll take care of it and everything. So I get that he's trying to be better from his old self, but it's still very upsetting. So the other thing that was a little bit upsetting to me is on page 25. I'm sorry, I'm going to be upset a lot, I suppose. It's on page 25 where, after Jing Shao applies this like healing balm in his, his chrysanthemum, if you will, he Mu Hanjiang feels himself shocked, and being upset is fine. And Mu Hanjiang thinks, how pitiful am I am to be happy over someone feeling sorry for me, because Ding Xiao felt really bad. And I was like, yeah, yeah. I was kind of like, wait, you're happy about this? Okay. So for me, I'm going to put out a disclaimer. I have never been raped before. Have I been molested? Yes, twice, by two different people, but I've never been, sexually assaulted to that degree. So I don't personally know what a realistic response would be, which I know there are several realistic responses because everybody's response is not the same. But to automatically read that after Jing Shao was, cleaning him up nicely and everything, and then, was looking at him with sympathy or pity or whatever, then Mu Hanjiang was like feeling happy about it. I'm like, why? How? Huh? I was like, what do you mean? I'm so confused. Is this realistic? I don't know. And so, but at the same time, I was just like, okay, it's whatever. Cool. We'll keep reading. I mean, he was real miserable in life and had his dreams crushed and assaulted. Yeah. I hate that he had his, his original goals in life thwarted. But anyway, he is grateful because he expected worse. I mean, that's a possibility. Definitely a possibility. Just came from dying, and the man he's come to respect is also alive. He's so happy to get a second chance to do better. He's trying, but he doesn't exactly get it. I like how you just put Muhan. You're not spelling the rest. He's just trying to make the best of this very weird, kind of bad situation. Yeah, I know, but it's just like I was completely thwarted. I'm not even gonna lie. And so kept reading, whatever. So let me see. Yeah, in my notes, I just put I personally dislike how smiley and how happy Jing Shao is. Like, I get it that you want to do better from your past, but like maybe just like reel in the smiliness a little bit. I think that was my problem because we have this man who has clear hesitance in his face, fear at one point. He was humiliated, as he put. So he's experienced some kind of trauma. And it's like, I need the MC to see this and just like calm down a little bit, please, because I'm not really liking it. Even if you want to do better, I don't know. It's just weird. So for me, I just felt like things moved a little fast already. It was kind of quick for me. Nevertheless, still reading because, I like it when books make me upset and I just want to see where things go. So. So also just to put out there, we have Jing Shao at 19 and Mu Hanjiang at 20. So he's older. Anyway, you said, I think waking from literally watching man die and dying to reset, one would be a bit emotionally wrecked. Probably so. I do believe that. Absolutely. And I can fully understand and empathize with that, but still like, huh. So then we get to chapter 3, which, hold on, let me, PTSD. You would have PTSD. Absolutely. So we get to chapter 3, which it appears that I did not have notes on this one. Okay. Why not? I guess because this one was just talking a little bit more about his life and them having to go visit his highness and everything. You said, I think he does realize, and that's why he tells him later to be upfront about everything. Yeah, so we're not there yet. We're not there yet. So I didn't really have anything to say about chapter 3, I guess, because I didn't have any notes or sticky notes or nothing. But yeah, so he's just getting ready, basically, to meet the family, which is crazy to me because, first off, they're married and now they're meeting the family. I was like, wait, it's so weird. I mean, this is a different custom and everything, but I'm like, shouldn't we have met the family before getting married? But okay, that's cool. That's fine. I guess we do things differently here. So anyway, they're meeting. Let me see. Of course, we get the servants and just learn about them as well. There's really nothing going on here. Um let me see. Yeah. I guess there really wasn't anything to talk about in chapter 3, which is why I don't really have any notes. So, going to chapter 4 then is when they go to the actual palace. And of course, the emperor chides his son a little bit on something, but then the empress is like, oh, don't be so hard on him, blah, blah, blah. And the emperor is very impressed with Muhanjang, which of course, because even though Muhanjang is of common birth, apparently he grew up in a noble household at least. So, he knows, he minds his P's and Q's essentially. So I kind of like that aspect because I mean, even the maids and servants were discussing amongst themselves when like the maids tripped up on something. They're like, look at them, they're little country bumpkins. But I like that Muhanjang is kind of like, yeah, I know how things run. Just because, I'm not of noble birth or anything like that, I know what I'm doing. So I appreciated that. I was like, haha, yes. So you said chapter 3 was mostly just introducing the house servants and letting you in on some of the background on Muhan. Yeah. So yeah, it was so few notes on that. I like how he goes into his personality and reputation, continues to binge fan translation on the side as I listen. Lovely. I hope you're paying attention to what you're reading then. And so yeah, the empress, the emperor, he's happy with Muhanjong, and then the empress, of course, she has to do a power move, a power play, and she lets Muhanjong kneel, and she just starts talking to the emperor and just makes him sit there, continue kneeling. Meanwhile, he's already feeling weak from the night before, and it's not a good look. And Jing Shao is not helping at all. And then the crazy thing is, Muhanjang, he speaks up to remind them, like, "Hey, I'm here." And then finally, the king is like, "Why is he still kneeling? Let him get up." But I thought it was very interesting because when the empress saw that Jing Shao was not going to interfere or help in any way, she seemed to be happy about this and then gave him a gift. So I was like, so does the empress want there to be discord between the two of them? And we don't know what's going to happen in the future, but I was like, is it possible she would want discord between them? Will she maybe try to get Muhanjang on her side for something, to scheme against her own husband or something like that? Because why would you be happy about the consort or the wife not having a good relationship? Like, because at the end of the day, it's kind of like no matter what, he can't become the emperor anymore. So specifically for the author to put in there that the sharpness in her eyes softened, then I was just like, what do you have planned, queen, empress? I mean, so you could live with books just going straight to pampering. You said you truly appreciate that this book just skipped the angst and the pain. I mean, I feel like the entire royal family is like knife hiding in every relationship. Absolutely. It's always that way in royal families. It's never just like peaceful relationships between anyone, or you'll have that one brother or something that genuinely cares for you, but for some reason the relationship just isn't good because of some buzzes in your ear. It's always something. We can't just have a good royal family, right? And so it's just like, "Argh." So anyway, which of course this is the problem of having harems. And it's kind of like, after so many eras of problems, have none of these emperors realized the true problem is having a harem? When you have so many concubines and stuff, this is why we have all these troubles. So anyway, I'm skeptical of the Empress and what her intentions are. So, because not having it is the worst issue, right? Yeah. So then we get to this part where it says Mu Hanzhang didn't say a word, of course, after they left and everything, and we're getting back into the carriage or the palanquin. Mu Hanzhang didn't say a word. The way this man ran both hot and cold left him guessing, and the pitying look on his majesty had him given him today had also left him with crushing heartache. So here is what I put. You said she did kill them in their last life. One can't handle empire if one can't fight through to the surface of the palace shite. I mean, he's still the one who holds the most military power. So even if he couldn't inherit, unless a lot of power is pulled from under him, he could usurp the throne. Absolutely, he could. He absolutely could. So with that line that I just read, this man running hot and cold, leaving him guessing, I put a note here and was just like, if you needed to feign coldness, just as you told him in advance to accept whatever gifts the Empress gave, you could have warned Mu Hanzhang of this as well. Jing Shao, communication points, 0. I was so upset because remember, we're coming from a night of distress and humiliation and pain and everything. And so Mu Hanzhang has experienced something traumatic already, but having to basically put it under the carpet, you know, put his feelings and any emotions that he may have had under the carpet because of the new treatment he's getting and because he still has to act as the wife. And so it's like, yeah, him going through these back and forth emotions I thought was realistic because it's like on one hand, you know, things could have been worse, and so he was happy when he saw Jing Shao was like pampering him, and then now when Jing Shao's not interfering when he's kneeling, then he's like, oh my gosh, I'm so upset, it was all fake and everything. So it's like I understand the waving of his emotions, and I think that it was very realistic, and I totally understand him being upset, or as it says, growing more and more groggy. But yeah, I was like, Jing Shao, you could have told him that you were going to pretend not to care. Like, what are we doing? And so you thought he backtracked when you read that part. So yeah, I didn't think he backtracked. Like I literally put my note, and because I was like, yeah, okay, you're clearly pretending, and I get it, but like you could have said something. And so then we have him asking, you know, to get a doctor because Mu Hanzhang was like, oh, and passed out or whatever. And it was like not very good. So he said, can you imagine though, dying, waking, and learning to switch the way you mistrusted people for 30 years? I absolutely could not imagine it. You know, from the way that he lived his life before, and not only that, but having the knowledge of the life he lived before, I can definitely understand him like being like, okay, okay, and trying to adjust to things as well. I'm gonna still criticize him. Communication is the hardest part of a relationship. And so, you know, he gets the doctor in to check on Mu Hanzhang and everything. And this doctor thinks, of course, that he's trying to get him on his side, which he was, but he ends up just giving him a gift for his son because he passed some military blah, blah, blah snore. And you know, at some point, he's like, he realizes that he had never been patient enough to explain things, while Junting had the kind of temperament that made him keep his feelings to himself, which again, going back to what I just said, as far as like he's already experienced some trauma the night before. And not to mention, both of them were just unwilling from the very beginning. And those feelings that he's having, I feel, were getting swept under the rug, which was very sucky. And so I was glad to see that Jing Shao was able to like think on this and realize that he didn't explain things, because then he later says, hold on. Oh wait, it might be in the next chapter. I think it might be in the next chapter. So hold on. So before this chapter ends, he goes to explaining his strife or his issues in the court. He's like, everyone in the capital is laughing at me, saying I've accomplished great things, but I can never get on the throne, blah blah blah. And so Muhan Jang, of course, his heart is just getting colder because now he's thinking that Jing Shao is explaining these things as a way of expounding on his resentment, because Jing Shao hasn't finished his explanation. um so also, I'm just going to put here that I think, we don't know, that there was a possible underlying health issue with Muhan Jang or just emotional turmoil. And I thought it was really funny when eventually I read the part when the doctor was like, yeah, so he experienced an injury and has pent up emotions. I was like, ding, ding, ding. It's the winner. You said you're super late. Are you super late? We are an hour in, although technically we didn't start until like 5 after, 10 after. I don't know. Um, but yes, you're late. So you said reverts to child at once for his wife. It's amazing the difference knowing you can trust someone makes. Nods both for his brother and wife. Wife is confused too, right? Mu Hanjang is so confused. The switch up from night to morning, good God. Yes, like I would just be so upset. Like, what's happening? And so I do appreciate that wife's trust developed gradually in comparison. Yeah. So then, yeah, I have Muhanjan thinks that Jing Shao's niceness is fake. And then at the end of chapter 4, he's like, let's do a writ of divorce. I was like, sir, do you really think it's going to be that easy? Y'all just got married. You got married to a prince. Where do you think a divorce is happening? It ain't. I know it ain't happening. And so I like how Jing Shao is just like, dude, getting divorced is not going to ruin your reputation, but like the thing that you wanted to do in life, you won't be able to do that because they don't allow divorcees to do that. And so Jing Shao was like, well, what do you want me to do then? It was just really funny. And so, Jing Shao was like, look, I can't inherit the throne. You can't take the exams. We're both kind of in the same boat, okay? And then Muhan Jang is like, oh, huh? What do you mean? And so finally we get Jing Shao explaining, some more things. And let me go further. Other people say things. I'm sorry. Is this in the right spot? One second. I'm trying to make sure I put this note in the right spot. Oh, I didn't. It should be on this page. That's why I'm so confused. I'm like, I don't see anything highlighted. Okay. So anyway, they're still talking while he's getting his treatment and everything. And then on page 51 of chapter 5, it says that, the rumors claimed that Prince Jing was hot-headed, quick to anger, stern, and reserved. Yet ever since last night, this man had already smiled at him many times. Muhan Jang let out a light sigh. Perhaps he should try to give him the benefit of the doubt. After all, he had nothing left for Jing Shao to exploit. And so now my sticky note's upside down since I put it on the wrong page. I hate that he has to question himself because this is what, has happened before, earlier when he was like, how stupid am I or how pitiful am I to be happy over him feeling sorry for me? And then going back again to, I'm upset because this is all fake. And then boom, okay, maybe I should just give him the benefit of the doubt. This is very realistic. I'm not mad at this part, but I just hate that Muhan Jang has to second guess himself because of that traumatic moment, which is why I think, what am I trying to say? I think it's very realistic, after experiencing that trauma, but also realizing that you're in a situation that you can't get out of. Like, it's not like he lives in a society or in a world like we are in today, where if for example, this will never happen. If something like this happened with me and my husband, oh, I could leave. And not only could I leave, I could tell my dad, and well, I don't know what would happen to my husband after my father found out. Okay, my father is retired from the military, um, and the current job he has is well, I don't know what would happen to my husband, but anyway, I'll just leave it at that. It's so it's like I could leave. You could leave. Like, we're in a society where we could just leave, but he is in a predicament in which he can't. And so he's fighting like this war mentally. Like, do I trust him? Do I not trust him? Am I happy or am I sad? Or should I give him the benefit of the doubt? And it's so sucky to have to even be in that position after having experienced such trauma. But I was glad that the author put this in here because, like I said, the end of chapter 1 going into chapter 2, it was very frustrating for me because I'm like, I was so upset about the sexual assault being put in there because for me it kind of just set the tone for everything, and I still don't really like that that was put in there, but it is what it is. Like, it, it, what am I trying to say? Just because someone does something bad does not mean that they're irredeemable. And so on one hand, it's like, why did the author, because a lot of people were questioning why the author put rape in here, but it could also be like, okay, well, why did the author put murder in here? Or why did the author put lying? Or why did the author put, any other really, really bad thing? And it's like, I'm not going to, um, I'm not going to put rape like above any other crime per se, if you will, because I'm really trying to gather my thoughts. Just hold on a second. Okay, like, I'm not questioning the author for choosing to put rape in here anymore, because it could, I guess it's just a really sensitive subject for people. But it's like, well, if this was the kind of person he was, then that's just the kind of person he was. And that's why it's been put in here. And the point is, he wants redemption from that. And at the end of the day, whether people agree or not, in real life, not even talking about a book, just because someone rapes someone one time does not mean that for the rest of their lives that is something that they will continue to do or have to continue to be. I do think that people should reap the consequences of anything that they do, absolutely. But I don't think that people are irredeemable. Is rape horrible? Yes, it is. But a person can be redeemed. Just like, oh, I just realized I've been sharing my screen this entire time. It's still, I did that one other time before. But just like murder is exceptionally horrible, especially depending on how the person goes about the murder. Like, if there's torture involved, that person can be redeemed. So it was bothersome to read the rape. And I'm not trying to say that rape is the same thing as murder, is the same thing as this crime, or the same thing as that crime. But at the end of the day, like, do y'all get what I'm trying to say? Like, I'm not looking at the author sideways for choosing to put rape in here, even though there's no purpose for it, if you will, kind of like in Arha. So anyway, that whole spiel, I just had to work through my thoughts because, yeah, anyway, I think it's very realistic that Muhan Jang is like going back and forth because one thing I did not want is for that incident to be just swept over under the rug completely. Like, even if they move forward from it, even if they don't talk about it ever again, I do need the reactions to be on the realistic side. Like, I read Don May for escapism, if you will. And I know some aspects are not going to be real, but that doesn't mean that I expect everything to be so fake and far-fetched. Like, I need it to be realistic. So having him doubting himself, very realistic. I very much appreciated it. Also, yes, I would definitely try, if I were in his position, I would try to give my husband the benefit of the doubt, especially since I don't have a way out of this except through death. And clearly he doesn't want to die. So all of that. Let me read these comments. I feel like I missed so many. Because I just had to work through that. And like, y'all don't understand how hard this was for me. I didn't start reading this until yesterday. So I didn't have a lot of time to get my thoughts together. Um, and these are strange. I'm trying to figure out where I left off. Lord have mercy. I have definitely missed. No one voluntarily got into the marriage in the first place, but surely a divorce is easy enough to get. LOL. I don't know. Not in here. Not to a prince. Absolutely not. It won't change that it happened for them politically. That's why both families wanted it for them. I still, again, I really just love that you're calling him Muhan. I don't know why, but anyway, you say he is having a time. You really like that we got the prince to say why the F couldn't I return 4 hours earlier. Yes, yeah, because it definitely would have happened, but it's like, well, it did. So you just got to go from there, and try to do your best. And so now, picking up where I left off on page 53, I absolutely loved. I was very, very happy then when Jing Shao was like, Junqing, I'll tell you everything from now on. And you have to tell me whatever you're thinking as well. This way, we won't ever fight. So, first off, I was like, well, sir, you're definitely still going to fight. Just because you tell each other everything does not mean you're not going to have disagreements. But thank you. Thank you for saying that you were going to do better and tell him everything from now on. Work on that communication because I do not have time for the miscommunication tropes at all. Yes. No, exactly, NFS. I don't have time for it. This is not a scenario, which I get it. Sometimes the miscommunication happens and it's done well. But a lot of times the miscommunication trope irks me so much because it's just like, this was so simple to solve. Like scenarios where I think the miscommunication trope was used well would be like in SVSSS. That was used well. And I talk about it in the video that premieres in January. I think it was used well there. In other scenarios, I think it was used well, but a lot of times it's just over something really stupid. And it's like in this novel, in this series, no, we don't need miscommunication because you've already lived your life one way before and you're coming back to try to change that thing. So I don't need you to miscommunicate anything. Also, you came back on the night that you effed up your wife. So no room for miscommunication. You might have things to work on because you still have some habits that you've already lived that you got to get out of. But I need you to be very candid here. So no miscommunication trope. Jinx Marichin. Don't say that. Don't say, I'm flicking you, NFS. Don't say that. You said, oh yes, SVSS's whole book hinges on it, kind of. It does, but it's for good reasons. Like the reason the miscommunication happens, I think, is for good reasons. And you said the system is evil for that. Absolutely, it is. Oh, I don't know anyone from Indiana. Not answering. So yeah. Oh man, I love SVSSS. Ha ha ha. Though it's more about prejudice. Uh. We said it at the same time, thus Jinx. Okay, well, you owe me a soda, but I don't really drink soda. So can you get me Fresca sparkling water, grapefruit flavor? Thank you. You're not hexing me. That would be so awful. So anyway, I was very happy that he was like, okay, well, let's not miscommunicate. I was like, okay, we're getting somewhere. Then, oh yeah, we have him not visiting his brother because, Jing Shao wasn't feeling well, put him in bed, but then Jing Shao was feeling better. And I get that. And Mu Hanjiang was like, okay, well, we're not going to have me go visit because his brother ended up coming to him anyway. His older brother, the prince, came to him. And Jing Shao was like, okay, well, let's go see him. And Mu Hanjiang was like, you idiot. Didn't we just tell him that I wasn't feeling well? We are not going to have me show up feeling well. So he was like, you go visit him by yourself. And I was like, look at that. He's keen. He's very smart. He already knows how this goes. And you, sir, get it together. You, Jing Shao, be a little bit more politically adept. Why don't you? But I'm glad Mu Hanjiang was there for him to be like, yeah, this is how we're gonna play this. Also, even when talking about the doctor, he was like, if you want to get the doctor on your side, all you gotta wait is with like, let's just have him mess up at something and he'll come to you. Like, I was like, okay, so you have some knowledge on some things, and you might be very helpful for Jing Shao in the future because he has been in the military. And although he may understand some things, like something as simple as knowing that when they visited the emperor and the empress, he shouldn't display happiness or he would look too cunning, there are a lot of things that he does not understand about, things politics wise. So I think it's good for him to have Muhan there. See what I did, Muhan? Okay, to help him out because he's going to need it. And that's probably why, in the end, why he ended up being imprisoned, because he wasn't very politically savvy and didn't have his ducks in a row. So, anyway, army background shows. You said you love their dynamic, their great combo. Smart Wifey is an icon. I love him. Yes. Also, NFS, don't go too far ahead of things. Remember, we're only on chapter 6, or we read chapter 6. Muhan, smartest man alive, according to Jing Shao. Right? Just how stupid must you be to miss that tool within your own house, even if you didn't love him, just because rage. Tunnel vision, not an excuse. Yes. So anyway, we have his brother coming to visit, and he sees them, and it's very nice because he was like, "Guh," or and his brother was like, "Did he just address me as brother?" Oh, oh, yes. Minjing has its flaws. That's all. I was like, wait, I don't know what dynamic you're talking about that you love, because I don't love it right now. They don't really have a dynamic just yet. It's not established. You're so welcome. And so, he's talking with his brother and everything. And then, of course, Lady Shao, his brother's wife, is like, I'm going to go check on the consort. And then they're like, yeah, that's not appropriate. You're a woman, he's a man. And it's like, oh, yeah, guess that wouldn't work out. And so Jing Shao and his brother Jing Chun, they go off together for a little bit. And the lady is there by herself. So let's see, I have another highlight on page 62. Oh, yeah, where it says, how unexpected that this man, who was usually so taciturn and aloof, would transform into a child before his older brother. And Mu Hanjiang was very, like, amused by this. And so, honestly, because I'm still battling with certain things, I did put that right now with that right there. I kind of felt like there was an inside joke that I wasn't in on. And that's just because of, again, this whole um how do I put it? Just this whole, like, moving quickly thing past the rape. But I think I'm okay with it now. It's just like in the first moment of reading it, I was just kind of like, okay, because no, here's the thing. Actually, no, this wasn't about the rape. How unexpected that this man, who was usually so taciturn and aloof, would transform into a child. For me, the reason why this was an inside joke is because I haven't seen that man, the taciturn and aloof man, in talking about transformation. And I think the note that I put was, so my issue that is that the author briefly mentioned his past life and his resentment and everything, but told us instead of showing it to us. And so and then just thrust us into his second chance at life, which, just shows his change of heart. And for me personally, it's just a little less impactful. Like, you're talking about, oh, he was so taciturn and aloof. I was like, really? I didn't experience that. Like, I didn't see that. And so it just felt like, yeah, an inside joke that I wasn't used to or in on. And so that's I get that, some people are like, we didn't have to go through the angst and all of that stuff from his past life and then jump into the new one. But at the same time, for me personally, I would have, and probably it will occur as I continue reading, and the second novel, and I think the third novel. This is going to be three novels, where maybe we'll get some flashes from the past. But for me, I would have appreciated just like a little more insight to his past, and then bring us into the present, or rather, that I just didn't see that phrase at all, like, or see that sentence in particular. If it would have just been like, Muhanjang failed to stifle a laugh, and he thought it was funny that this man turned into a child before his older brother, then I probably would have been okay if it didn't put in the how he was usually so taciturn and aloof, because it's like I didn't see that taciturn and aloof self. So it's just, I feel left out. That's what I just feel left out. And it's like I'm seeing I'm seeing the butterfly, but I didn't see it when it was a caterpillar. It's basically how I feel. You said, great combo. Two smart people is my fave. Okay. Same. How we can't imagine battles well, but we can imagine Splinter under nail. Imitate violence is much closer to reality. Yes, he is 19, and Muhandang is 20. Do you think this is more of what Muhandang had heard? Yeah, I figured it was probably only heard, because I didn't think they had really had any interactions before. But even with that being said, like, I still, as a reader, am not getting this insight. And so it's just kind of like, huh? He said, nods. Yeah, like the Imperial Uncle. Oh my gosh. The Imperial Uncle was so good. Not even gonna lie. Although the extras, especially the first two and the very last one, threw me off. I was like, what are we doing here? You said you think we get flashbacks later. I will appreciate those flashbacks, but you know, gossip versus reality. We see him being impulsive, stupid, and rash. Yeah, LOL Mari Chan want to see that cocoon making. Except he's not high on getting a second chance. Yeah, it's just like it's just like I don't want to be left out. So anyway, while that's happening, we have Lady Shao by herself, his brother's wife, and then when the concubines comes in, Song Ling Xin. Yes. And she comes in and basically words it in a way where it's elusive. She's not saying that Jing Shao sent her to come spend time with her, but maybe it could have been that way. And so then, of course, this causes gossip within their residence or whatever. And Mu Hanjong is so unbothered by it. And he even says to one of the maids, what? Did she say, oh, now we don't know really who's running the place up in here? Is it, the main wife, or is it one of the concubines? Blah, blah, blah. He's like, I don't give two craps. And I loved it. It was just kind of like, yeah, because at the end of the day, because we know Jing Shao is showing him favor, he's going to show him favor, and all them other concubines can suck it. So it's just kind of like, whatever. And then, okay, yes. Oh yeah, and then the other two concubines come to visit to pay their respects and serve him tea. So we'll see how that goes, how they interact with him. I'll be very interested to see, because now, of course, we have to anticipate. I have to anticipate that there's going to be some persnickety, conniving things that happen in Jing Shao's place, because now we have the main wife who's going to be treated well. How are the other concubines going to feel about it? Are they going to try to team up together against Mu Hanzhang, or are those two that are coming to greet him going to be on his side while the other one's not going to be on his side? You know, like what kind of strife is going to happen? You know, very excited to see what that's going to turn out like. And so, yeah, let me see if I have any other things in my notes. At least Jing Shao is trying, my note says. Oh, yes. Jing Shao promises to protect Mu Hanzhang and to never let him suffer slight anymore. I don't know why, but I just feel like that promise is going to be tested. And I'm concerned. But yeah, okay, so that was the last note that I had about chapter 5 and 6. So my first impressions of this novel, honestly, when I first started reading it, even all the way up to chapter 6, I was just like, I don't know. I'm probably going to read this novel and not going to read anymore. But sometimes things just need to sit and you need to marinate, or you need to talk about them. And like I'm talking about these things with you guys, and I feel a lot better now that I've gotten everything off my chest. And I think I will continue reading and see where this goes. Also, isn't this cover just like so good looking? Like, look at Mu Hanzhang. I'm trying to point to him. He is a cutie. Oh, he is so cute. Also, he's looking at me because you see Ding Xiao's eyes. I don't know if y'all can tell. You can look at your own cover. Ding Xiao's eyes are clearly on Mu Hanzhang, but Mu Hanzhang's eyes are on us. Like you can see the whites of his eyes there, and his eyes are looking at us. I was like, oh, you're looking at me? Hi. So anyway, and then his hair is just flowing down. Oh, why is he so cute? I do not like this. Also, I love how both of them are dazzled by each other's good looks. It's like, yeah, sometimes that'll do it for you, you know? It is amazing art. Yes. Um, I don't think there were any pictures in the wait, no, I think there was just one picture. Let me take my sticky note off of it really quickly to show you. This is the picture. That's Jing Shao, his brother Jing Chun, and the wife, Lady Xiao. Xiao versus Shao. By the way, I'll put that because that. So let me put my sticky note back in. So Jing Shao is SH. Oh no. There we go. SHAO. Whereas Xiao. Xiao. So anyway, yeah, I'm excited to see where this goes, and I'm gonna keep reading. I think we'll be good. So, of course, I have to prepare myself to talk about this again at 5 o'clock with anybody else who couldn't join earlier today, right now. So that'll be interesting now that I've got all of my jittery jitters out. You said it's a bit, it's up and down for a bit, but it gets very funny. I love court military intrigue. I do too. So I'm very excited. That's one of the main things that stood out to me was that because I just like where on the book on the bottom it says an emotional romance about palace intrigue and second chances. That's how I read it. Palace intrigue and second chances. You said 92 out of 108 on this site, and so far I am binging. Okay, so you're gonna have to be really careful about what you discuss in our live discussions. Well, I knew it. Goodbye.